Have you ever seen teams where individually they're really talented, but yet somehow when they come together, it doesn't quite click? So they end up losing to teams who have technically worse players. In his book, Legacy, James Kerr examines one of the most successful sports teams in history, the All Blacks, and how they keep winning when it counts. He explores how you need to develop character as well as craft, the secret to team cohesion, and also the 1% that actually matter to bring the best out of the best and to prevent talented teams from collapsing under pressure. The first point that Kerr makes is that there's a subtle thing that improves performance at an individual level, and it's free. It's character. In the first chapter, you find the philosophy sweep the sheds, and the author describes how when he visited the All Blacks environment, he noticed that the players were sweeping up after themselves despite being some of the biggest rugby stars in the world. He noticed that there was a lot of emphasis on staying grounded and humble despite success and accolades. And in the first chapter, as well as in the rest of the book, you see that they play for something bigger than themselves. They're taught the history of the All Blacks, they learn the rituals like the haka, and there's a sense of stewardship when it comes to that black jersey. It's borrowed, it's not owned, and you need to look after it, and ideally leave it better than when you found it. There's a focus on them becoming better people, and as a result of becoming better people, they become better players. There's a story in here about two young players that went off and had a night out drinking when they were supposed to be in camp, and when they came back, it wasn't the coaches that told them off, it was actually their teammates. And that's even more powerful because no one wants to let their peers down. So in this way, everyone's held accountable for their behaviour at an individual level, and then this makes the team stronger. There's a quote here that says, like all good teachers, the All Blacks coaches are students not only of the game, but also of human nature, which is so interesting. Whilst other people are focused on just becoming better athletes, the All Blacks emphasise becoming better people and then become better athletes as a byproduct. On page 9 it says, character is essential to individuals and their cumulative character is the backbone of your winning team. This is going to lead us into our next point, which is team cohesion. So in a lot of rugby scenarios, I've seen technically superior sides collapse against less talented but better connected teams. There's a part in the book where they say that a team's success depends on how they work together under pressure. So ideally, you've got individual characters who are really strong that come together and actually get better under pressure together, not worse. So that poses the question, how do you ensure this happens? Because it only takes one person to ruin this. There's a quote on page 81 that says, it's better to have 1,000 enemies outside the tent than one inside the tent. And also, one selfish mindset will infect a collective culture. So it only takes one. And it seems that the best way to test for this is to put teams under pressure in training, but not just physical pressure, psychological pressure, and see who steps up, who plays well, but not just that, who helps other people play well. On page 82 it says, a player who makes a team great is better than a great player. Now imagine if you had a team like that, a bunch of players that make each other better under pressure. That kind of team would be unstoppable. An example the book uses is the 2011 World Cup, where New Zealand lost 3 fly halves over the course of the tournament. In the final, the 4th choice fly half gets called up, Stephen Donald his name is, and the way they describe it is actually wild. In the book it says, Stephen Donald ran onto the pitch, his borrowed black jersey a size or 2 small. It's not looking good, but yet when a penalty gets called, he steps up, slots the kick, gets the points, gets the job done. They prove to be the winning points. New Zealand's 4th choice fly half, having not played a game of rugby for 6 weeks, stood up when it counted and became a leader on the day. And so yes, he was clearly individually brilliant and competent, but also part of an ecosystem that supported shared leadership and supported anyone being able to step up at any moment. And that kind of team is terrifying because it's unstoppable. You get rid of one fly half, there's another one. Another one, get rid of the second fly half, there's another one. Get rid of the third fly half, there is another one who can still get the job done. No one wants to be against a team like that. Absolutely not. And then there's one final thing that improves team cohesion, which sounds quite counterintuitive, but it's conflict. And not just uncontrollable shouting matches, but safe conflict, as listed in this book here. Safe conflict is the kind of open, honest, authentic disagreement that leads to resolutions. So people can disagree healthily. And so we've discussed how in some teams, you've got really talented players that can't click together. And one of the issues is sometimes when 2 talented players, for example, going through a game, something goes wrong and they point the finger at each other. So this happens if they're talented but have a lot of ego. They kind of go, well, I'm good, so the problem's definitely you. And the other person goes, well, I'm good, so the problem's definitely you. Versus if they're talented but don't have a lot of ego, they go, we're both good players, we both know how to play, but clearly we made assumptions here in this situation that differ. Let's find out what those assumptions were and fix it so it doesn't happen again. And so that type of conflict leads to more trust, not less trust. And that's a kind of invisible leverage that gives you the 1% advantage over opponents over time. And that's going to lead us into the next point about the 1% that actually matter. So it's common practice in sports or high performance environment to discuss those 1%, getting 1% better at this and that. But realistically, there's an unlimited number of things to get 1% better at and a limited amount of time, which forces us to answer the question, what should we focus on getting better at? Because realistically, it can't be everything. So you have to choose. And often it's not what you think. Most people would assume that the 1% that matter would be getting 1% better in the gym or a 1% better sprint time. But often it's the less visible things that can end up mattering more, like 1% better recovery, 1% better communication skills, 1% better attention span, a 1% better ability to regulate under stress. Because all of these things cumulatively add up to being able to get the job done when you need to. There's a quote here in the book that encapsulates this perfectly. Bad decisions are not made through lack of skill or innate judgment. They are made because of an inability to handle pressure at the pivotal moment. And that's how less skilled teams can sometimes beat more skilled individuals. There's no point being brilliant if you can't access that brilliance when it counts. In this book, they've discussed some of the quirkiest 1% that I've seen. For example, one coach made people focus on putting their socks on properly. Check the heel area. We don't want any sign of wrinkle about it. The wrinkle will be sure to get you blisters, and those blisters are going to make you lose playing time. So literally, how people put on their socks, getting 1% better at that can affect blisters. And if your opponents are getting more blisters than you, that's going to affect their performance too. Page 68, the garbage in, garbage out principle. Be careful of the verbal and visual language that you allow to take up residence in your head. Be careful of the people we allow to take up space in our lives. That's intense. And then also, one of the New Zealand coaches encouraged people to do eye tracker tests to improve their spatial awareness. So if you've got less mental garbage in your head and if you've got better spatial awareness, that might not be trackable straight away, but that does lead to cleaner reads of the game, more interceptions, more dominant tackles, more possession, and being able to just execute better under pressure. These types of 1% are the least visible straight away, which also means they're the most likely to be overlooked by opponents. So you get more of a leverage over them by training them because you're tracking and training something that they can't even see. All of these things put together can mean that less technically skilled teams can beat more technically skilled teams, and the big names lose without quite knowing why. Overall, Legacy explores the importance of selecting for character as well as craft, and the importance of developing emotional regulation as well as expertise, both at an individual and a team level. It reinforces the importance of healthy conflict, of playing for something bigger, and how we can all leave the shirt better than we found it. When applied, these principles allow talented teams to operate at their best under pressure so that their collective skills can shine consistently, making sure that they don't collapse when they need to execute. If you like this deep dive into the All Blacks philosophy, then you'll probably also like The Art of Winning, written by All Blacks legend Dan Carter, about his journey with the team and beyond.